Everyone thinks you're outgoing, confident, always in control. But behind the scenes, you crave silence, overthink every word, and feel drained after socializing. Sound familiar? You might not be the extrovert people believe you are. In fact, you could be living a lie as a secret introvert. Today we'll explore 7 unexpected signs that reveal your hidden self. What if the real you has been quiet all along? This video isn't just another personality checklist. We're diving deep into real psychological traits that often go unnoticed. Signs that you might be introverted without even knowing it. If you've ever felt socially on yet mentally off, this might explain why. Sign 1. You feel drained after social events. Have you ever walked into a party full of energy, smiling, chatting, even making people laugh, only to come home and collapse on your bed like you just ran a marathon? You weren't sad, you weren't upset, you just feel empty, like someone unplugged your battery without warning. You might be thinking, that's normal, right? Everyone gets tired after being social. Yes, but not like this. If you're secretly introverted, socializing isn't just tiring, it's draining. While extroverts get fueled by people, you're spending energy the whole time. Every joke, every conversation, every group selfie is a tiny withdrawal from your mental account, and by the time the night ends, you're running on emotional fumes. You might even start avoiding events you used to enjoy, not because you hate people, but because your system is quietly begging for rest. The quiet of your room, your bed, a book, or just being alone with your thoughts, that's where your battery actually recharges. This doesn't mean you're antisocial. You might genuinely love your friends, your coworkers, or the celebration itself, but when it's over, you crave silence. Not because you're broken, but because your brain processes stimulation differently. So the next time you leave a social event and feel like a ghost of yourself, don't beat yourself up. You're not weird. You might just be living life as an extrovert when deep down, you're wired completely differently. That's not a flaw, that's your clue. Sign 2. You're a social chameleon. You walk into a room, scan the vibe, and without even thinking you adjust. With one group, you're the funny one. With another, you're quiet and deep. Some days you're loud, energetic, the people person. Other days, you just want to vanish. Here's the strange part. You're good at it. People call you friendly, easy to talk to, even the life of the party. But deep down, it often feels like you're just acting. That's the chameleon effect. And it's not fake, it's a survival skill. Especially if you're a closeted introvert trying to fit into an extroverted world. You've probably spent years mastering how to blend in. You mirror people's energy. You know what to say, how to behave, when to laugh. And because you're good at it, no one suspects how exhausting it really is. But over time, something strange happens. You start losing track of who you really are. Am I actually this outgoing? Or is this just a mask I've worn for so long, I forgot how to take it off? It's not that you're being fake, it's that you've learned to survive by being flexible. The problem is, if you never pause to reconnect with your authentic self, this flexibility turns into emotional burnout. If this hits a nerve, you're not alone. You're not broken either. You've just been performing on autopilot for too long, and maybe it's time to stop performing. Sign 3. You prefer deep conversations over small talk. You meet someone new, they ask about the weather, the latest viral video, or how your weekend was. You nod, smile, maybe even respond politely, but inside, you feel disconnected, bored, maybe even a little frustrated. It's not that you dislike people, it's that you crave substance. You've always been drawn to conversations that actually mean something, topics that go beyond how's work, or what did you eat for lunch. You'd rather hear about someone's childhood, dreams they've buried, or what keeps them up at night. You want to understand how people feel, not just what they did today. Small talk feels like emotional fast food, quick, easy, but never satisfying. And sometimes, you find yourself holding back because you've learned not everyone wants to go deep. You might even stay quiet in group settings because the vibe feels too shallow, but one-on-one, when the masks come off, that's when you come alive. You've probably noticed that certain people open up to you easily. Strangers tell you secrets. Friends say, "I don't know why I'm telling you this." It's because your presence feels safe. You listen with intent. You make people feel seen. This isn't just a preference, it's how you connect. Deep conversations are where you build trust, feel present and recharge. If small talk feels like noise and silence feels more meaningful, you might not be shy. You just value depth over noise. And that's the mark of someone who connects inward before they connect outward. Sign 4. You need alone time, but feel guilty asking for it. You enjoy people, you really do, but there's a moment after hours of social interaction when your brain just checks out. You start feeling irritated, foggy, overstimulated. You don't want to offend anyone, but deep down, you're just wishing for silence. Here's the tricky part. When you finally do get that quiet moment, you feel guilty about it. Maybe you cancel plans last minute and lie, saying you're busy when in reality you just needed to be alone. Maybe you turn off your phone, then feel bad for disappearing. Sound familiar? This guilt doesn't come from selfishness. It comes from the pressure to be available, to always show up, to be on. Society praises extroverted behavior, being social, responsive, out there. But when your mind and body scream for space, you hesitate because you don't want to seem cold, lazy, or rude. But here's the truth. Alone time isn't a luxury. For introverts, it's maintenance. It's where your thoughts realign, your energy resets, and your emotions settle. Without it, you feel like you're drowning in noise, even if no one around you notices. And the guilt, it's just a side effect of pretending you don't need what you absolutely do. So if you find yourself constantly caught between needing solitude and fearing you'll disappoint people for asking for it, take this as a sign. Your need for space isn't the problem. The lie you're living to hide it is. Sign 5. You replay conversations in your head. The conversation ended hours ago, but your mind still stuck on that one sentence. Should I have said that? Did they misunderstand me? Why did their tone change at that point? Sound familiar? If you find yourself mentally rewinding social interactions like a scene from a movie, you're not overreacting. You're introspective, constantly analyzing, processing, decoding. While others move on without a second thought, you're stuck in the afterglow of words, reading between lines, catching micro-expressions, probably didn't even notice. A laugh that felt forced, a pause that lasted a second too long, a word that came out wrong. And it's not just awkward moments. You replay the good ones too. A compliment someone gave, a look that meant something. You store these moments because your mind doesn't just experience life, it dissects it. This kind of reflection is often mistaken for insecurity, but it's not always about being unsure. It's about being aware of nuance, of emotion, of the things unsaid. But here's the downside. It's exhausting. You relive conversations for hours, even days, while the world just moves on. This is a classic sign of a hidden introvert, someone who appears composed on the outside but has a storm of thoughts inside. Not because you're weak, but because you feel deeply and think carefully. So next time your mind starts playing reruns of that chat from lunch, know this: you're not overthinking. You're simply wired to understand life a little deeper than most. Sign 6. You hate phone calls but love texting. Your phone lights up, it's ringing. You stare at it, heart skipping a beat, not from excitement but from a strange discomfort. You let it ring. Then without hesitation you send a text instead. Hey, what's up? You're not rude. You're not antisocial. You just prefer space. Phone calls demand instant responses. No pause, no time to think, no chance to filter your thoughts. For someone who processes everything internally before speaking, that pressure can feel overwhelming. But texting, that's your comfort zone. It gives you a moment to breathe, to reflect, to say exactly what you mean. You can retype a message 3 times until it feels right. And there's no awkward silence when your brain needs a second to catch up. For hidden introverts, texting isn't laziness, it's protection. It allows you to connect on your terms, in a controlled space, without the unexpected emotional energy that phone calls often require. And let's be honest, phone calls often skip the point. There's small talk, noise, distractions, but with a text, it's clear, direct, and intentional. You might even feel anxious when your phone rings, especially if it's an unknown number or a long-time no-chat friend. Not because you don't care, because you do. You just care too much to fumble through it. If this sounds like you, you're not distant. You're just wired to communicate differently, and there's nothing wrong with that. Sign 7. People don't believe you're an introvert. You, an introvert? No way. You've probably heard that before, and maybe you've even started questioning yourself because of it. You laugh loudly. You lead conversations. You speak confidently in meetings or on camera. You're not shy, awkward, or silent, so how could you be an introvert? But here's the truth. Introversion isn't about social skill. It's about social energy. You've simply learned how to navigate the world in a way that works. You can be outgoing, perform, entertain, and lead, but only for so long. Then when the lights go out and the people leave, you're craving space like oxygen. You disappear, not because you're tired of people, but because you're running on empty. And because you present so well in public, most people don't believe your internal reality. They don't see the recovery time, the silent evenings, the mental drain after doing what looks easy from the outside. You've trained yourself to wear the extrovert mask so well that even you sometimes forget it's there. But behind that charm, confidence, and capability lives a quieter truth. You're introspective, private, deeply thoughtful, and when you're not on, you're content being invisible. So if the world keeps telling you you're too confident to be introverted, smile gently. They're seeing your learned skills, not your natural state, and it's okay to be both powerful in public and peaceful in solitude. That's not a contradiction, that's balance. If you saw yourself in even 3 of these signs, you might be a secret introvert. And guess what? That's not a flaw, that's your superpower. You don't have to live a lie. You can be social without being fake. You can recharge alone without guilt. The first step is awareness. So, are you really who the world thinks you are? Or is there a quieter, more powerful version of you waiting to be seen? Let us know in the comments. Did any of these signs hit close to home? Subscribe for more content about personality, psychology, and self-discovery. And remember, you're not alone, not even in your silence.